Have you ever noticed the heavy, suffocating weight of the words you swallow? The meeting is happening. People are talking. Ideas are flying across the table or the screen. You have a thought. It sits right at the edge of your tongue. But then, a quiet, terrifying voice inside whispers, "What if it sounds foolish? What if they realize I do not belong here?" So, you stay silent. You nod. You smile. And then, moments later, someone else says exactly what you were thinking, and everyone praises them for it. If you have ever felt this specific kind of invisible ache, this is for you. Most people do not realize that the deep exhaustion you feel at the end of the day is not always from the work you did. Often, it is from the massive amount of energy you spent holding yourself back. It is from the exhausting performance of hiding. 1. The weight of unspoken words. What if the harder you try to protect your professional image, the more of your true self you slowly destroy? Here is the truth few people want to face. We mistakenly believe that silence is a shield. We believe that if we say nothing, we cannot be judged. If we say nothing, we cannot fail. If we say nothing, nobody will discover the secret we carry, the fear that we are not smart enough, not experienced enough, not legitimate enough to be sitting in that chair. So we sit in rooms filled with people, our hearts racing, mentally rehearsing a single sentence over and over again. By the time we find the courage to speak, the conversation has moved on. The door has closed. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that a great deal of our suffering comes from attachment to an illusion. In this case, it is the attachment to a perfect, unbroken image of ourselves. We cling desperately to the idea that we must appear flawless to be worthy of respect. We project our own deepest insecurities onto the faces of our colleagues. But Buddhism reminds us that these thoughts are just mental formations. They are not reality. The harshest judge in that meeting room is not your boss, and it is not your peers. It is the voice inside your own head. Think of a bird sitting in an open cage. The door has been left wide open. The sky is vast, blue, and inviting. But the bird refuses to fly because it is terrified that the wind might ruffle its feathers. It is afraid it might not look perfectly graceful when it takes off. So, it tightly grips its wooden perch. It stays safe. It stays unjudged by the outside world. But it also remains deeply, quietly, miserable, entirely disconnected from its true nature. In our daily lives, we build these cages out of our own anxiety. We over-prepare, over-analyze, and overwork in the background. We stay up late perfecting documents, hoping that if we just do enough silent, grueling labor, our value will speak for itself. We try to buy our right to be in the room through sheer exhaustion, hoping it will finally make us feel legitimate. Think about your own life. What are you still holding on to? What are you afraid will happen if you let go of the need to be right every single time? Ask yourself, is this fear of sounding foolish bringing you peace? Or is it only feeding your anxiety? Pause, breathe. The next time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, observe the fear without following it. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. You do not have to be perfect to belong, because peace is not something you achieve by outworking your insecurities. It is something you make space for when you stop hiding. But letting go of this heavy shield of silence is only the first step, and this is where the next truth begins. Because beneath every swallowed word is a quiet obsession with an image we were never meant to carry. 2. The illusion of perfection and the ego. What if the standard of perfection you hold yourself to is the exact thing keeping you small? Here is a truth we rarely admit. The fear of sounding foolish is not really about the work. It is about the ego. We build a polished version of who we think we should be. The flawless professional, the strategic thinker, the person who always has the brilliant answer. We enter a meeting, and immediately the pressure to perform begins. We listen to the discussion, perhaps about shifting logistics or complex marketing campaigns, and a thought arises. But if that idea is only halfway formed, we bury it. If we have a genuine question, we swallow it. We believe that a single misstep, one unpolished thought, will shatter the fragile professional identity we have worked so hard to build. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the danger of clinging to a fixed identity. We suffer because we construct a rigid ego, a mental statue of ourselves that we must constantly defend, polish, and protect. Buddhism reminds us that this rigid identity is an illusion. You are not your job title. You are not the flawless expert you constantly pretend to be. When you desperately try to protect an image, you become a prisoner to it. The ego demands certainty. It demands praise. And when it cannot guarantee those things, it demands your silence. Imagine a beautiful, heavy suit of armor. It shines brilliantly in the sunlight. It looks completely invincible. You put it on to protect yourself, feeling perfectly safe behind its thick, unyielding steel. But soon, you realize the armor is so heavy, you can barely breathe. You cannot turn your head. You cannot reach out your hand to connect with another person. The very thing you built to keep yourself safe has become the thing paralyzing you. You are safe from the arrows of judgment, but you are completely unable to participate in the journey. This is what we do in our daily lives. We walk into the conference room or log into the daily call wearing heavy armor. We analyze the complex systems. We track the shifting landscapes of our careers. But we refuse to speak unless we are absolutely certain our words will be celebrated. We sit frozen, terrified that someone will see the vulnerable, imperfect human underneath the metal. We think our silence makes us look strong, but it only leaves us feeling deeply isolated and exhausted. Think about your own life. How much energy are you spending just trying to keep your armor polished? What are you afraid they will see if you let it drop? Is this heavy image bringing you peace, or is it crushing your spirit? Pause, breathe. The next time you feel the urge to hide behind your armor, simply observe the feeling. Notice the desperate need to look perfectly intelligent and let it pass. You do not have to obey it. You do not need to be invincible to be valuable, because true presence is not found by avoiding every mistake. It is found when you have the courage to show up exactly as you are, without the heavy shield. But laying down the armor can feel terrifying. When we feel we cannot speak to prove our worth, we often try to prove our worth in another way. We try to buy our legitimacy in the dark. And this brings us to the next truth. 3. The exhausting trap of overworking. What if your exhaustion is not a sign of your dedication, but a symptom of your hidden fear? Here is the truth few people want to face. You can never outwork a feeling of unworthiness. When we feel insecure in the meeting room, when we let the moment to speak pass us by because we fear sounding foolish, a heavy, quiet guilt sets in. We tell ourselves that because we did not contribute our voice, we must compensate with our labor. We try to buy our legitimacy in the shadows. We stay at our desks long after others have gone. We endlessly tweak projects that are already finished. We send emails late into the night, hoping that the sheer volume of our silent effort will prove that we deserve our seat at the table. We believe that if we just work hard enough, no one will notice our quietness. We turn ourselves into machines, hoping productivity will finally make us feel valid. In Buddhist thought, this endless chasing is a deep source of suffering. It is a form of attachment, clinging to the belief that our inherent value must be continuously earned, proven, and justified to the outside world. Buddhism teaches us that true peace comes from understanding our fundamental wholeness. You are not a transaction. You do not need to constantly pay rent for your right to exist in a space. When we attach our worth solely to our output, we lose our inner stillness. We forget that the sky does not need to justify its vastness, and the river does not need to earn its right to flow. Imagine a weary traveler trying to cross a vast, deep lake in a small wooden boat. The wind is calm, and the water is gently carrying them forward. But the traveler does not trust the water. They believe they must fight for every inch of progress. So, instead of using the oars or letting the current help them, they lean over the edge and violently thrash the water with their bare hands, trying to drag the boat forward through sheer force. They arrive at the other side completely broken, drenched, and emotionally exhausted. They believe their intense suffering is what got them across, never realizing the water would have carried them anyway if they had only trusted it. We are that traveler, thrashing at the water of our daily lives. We take on the extra burden. We absorb the stress of others. We overwork not because the task actually requires it, but because our inner anxiety demands it. We think the suffering of overworking is the price we must pay to avoid the fear of being exposed as a fraud. We trade our peace for a temporary, fragile sense of safety. We hope that if we are just tired enough, no one can question our dedication. Think about your own life. Look at the invisible burdens you carry every single day. How much of your daily exhaustion comes from the actual work, and how much comes from the desperate need to prove you belong? What are you afraid will happen if you simply do your job and nothing more? Is this endless striving bringing you peace or feeding your fear? Pause, breathe. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise without making it your identity. The next time you feel the urge to overwork out of guilt, stop. Do your part, then release the outcome. You do not need to thrash the water, because peace is not found at the bottom of an endless task list. It is found when you realize your worth is not something you have to buy with your own exhaustion. But releasing the need to overwork is difficult when we feel everyone is constantly watching and judging our every move. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. The spotlight of judgment is a mirage. What if the eyes you feel burning into you are not actually looking at you at all? Here is a truth we rarely admit. We sit in meetings believing we are standing on a brightly lit stage. Every time we even think about opening our mouths, we feel a blinding, heavy spotlight swing directly onto our faces. We believe that everyone in the room is deeply, intensely focused on our every word. We think they are analyzing our tone, judging our hesitation, and measuring our intelligence. If we stumble over a sentence, we replay it in our minds for days. We imagine our colleagues silently keeping score. This illusion of the spotlight makes the stakes feel impossibly high. It turns a simple conversation into a dangerous performance. So, to avoid the blinding light, we sink back into our chairs and stay silent. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that much of our suffering stems from a self-centered perception of reality. We naturally place ourselves at the absolute center of the universe. In Buddhist thought, this is one of the deepest tricks of the ego. We assume our pain, our mistakes, and our actions are as significant to others as they are to us. But Buddhism reminds us of a humbling, liberating truth. You are not the center of the world. Everyone else is also trapped within their own minds, wrestling with their own doubts, and worrying about their own spotlight. We suffer deeply because we believe we are the permanent object of everyone's attention, when in reality, we are just a passing cloud in their sky. Imagine a vast, dark theater. You are standing perfectly still on the center stage. You are convinced there is a harsh, unblinking spotlight tracking your every single move. You freeze. You carefully calculate every breath, terrified of tripping because you think a massive audience is sitting in the dark, just waiting for you to fail. The pressure is crushing, but suddenly the house lights come on, the theater is illuminated, and you see the truth. The seats are completely empty. There is no audience judging you. Everyone else is simply standing on their own separate stage, staring blindly into their own spotlight, too worried about their own performance to even notice yours. In our modern lives, This dark theater is the conference call. It is the project review. It is the quiet moment before you speak. We carry the crushing weight of being constantly perceived, assuming every co-worker is a harsh, unforgiving critic. We let the fear of their judgment dictate our actions. But they are not analyzing you. They are worrying about their own workloads. They are anxious about their own hidden fears. They are wondering if they sounded foolish just moments before. Your small mistake is not their obsession. Your unpolished thought is not their focus. Think about your own life. Think about the meetings where you bit your tongue. How much freedom have you sacrificed for an audience that does not even exist? What are you afraid they will do if you speak, and it is less than perfect? Ask yourself, is this fear of the spotlight bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your anxiety? Pause. Breathe. The next time you feel the heat of that imaginary spotlight hit your face, stop, look around the room. Remind yourself of the truth. You are not the center of their world, and that is a beautiful, freeing thing. Let the feeling of being judged rise, and then watch it drift away like smoke, because true peace is not found by performing flawlessly for the crowd. It is found when you realize there was never a crowd to begin with. But realizing the spotlight is an illusion requires a quiet courage. It requires breaking the habit of reacting to fear immediately. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The power of the mindful pause. What if your greatest power is not found in what you finally say, but in the quiet moment just before you decide to hide? Here is a truth we rarely face. We do not just consciously choose to be silent, we are hijacked by it. Think about the physical sensation. You are in the meeting. A brilliant thought enters your mind. Almost instantly, your heart begins to race. Your chest tightens. The blood rushes to your ears. Before you have even fully processed the idea, a wave of panic tells you it is safer to say nothing. We believe this immediate, visceral reaction is a warning we must obey. We treat the fear of sounding foolish as an absolute, undeniable command. So, we shrink back. We swallow the words in a fraction of a second, letting the sudden rush of anxiety dictate our entire reality. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that suffering is born in the space where we lose our awareness. We suffer because we blindly react to our emotions instead of simply observing them. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the power of the mindful pause. It is the practice of stepping back and watching the mind at work. When fear arises, you do not have to fight it, but you also do not have to follow it. The fear is just a passing mental event. It is not a permanent truth. It is simply a sensation moving through your body. By creating a tiny space between the fearful thought and your reaction, you reclaim your freedom. Imagine a deep, ancient lake on a quiet morning. The surface is like glass. Suddenly, a fierce, unexpected storm rolls in. The wind howls. The surface of the water becomes violent and chaotic, crashing with white-capped waves. If you only look at the surface, you would believe the entire lake is in turmoil. But if you dive just a few feet below the crashing waves, the water is completely still. The depths are entirely untouched by the temporary chaos above. The lake does not fight the storm. It simply allows the weather to pass across its surface, knowing its core remains unbothered and calm. This is the reality of your mind. When you are sitting in that room and the sudden urge to speak collides with the sudden terror of being judged, a storm erupts on the surface. We usually panic. We let the surface weather make our decisions. We stay silent because we think the storm will destroy us. But we forget to look at the depths. The fear of sounding foolish is just wind. The anxiety is just a passing wave. Underneath the temporary physical panic, there is a deep, quiet stillness that is always available to you. Think about your own life. Think about the last time you let a sudden rush of fear make a decision for you. How often do you mistake the passing weather of your anxiety for the permanent truth of who you are? What would happen if, just for a moment, you did not instantly obey the voice that tells you to hide? Is this immediate reaction bringing you peace or feeding your fear? Pause. Breathe. The next time the fear hits your chest, do not instantly swallow your words. Stop. Let the storm rage on the surface for a moment. Observe the thought without following it. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. You are not the storm, because peace is not the absence of fear. It is the quiet space you create when you stop letting fear make your choices. But observing the fear is only half the battle. Once you finally find the courage to speak, another subtle trap awaits. And this is where the next truth begins. Because speaking your mind means letting go of what happens next. 6. Detaching from the outcome of your voice. What if the real reason you fear speaking is not about the words themselves, but your desperate need to control how they are received? Here is a truth we rarely face. Even when we finally find the courage to speak up in a meeting, our anxiety does not simply vanish. Instead, it transforms. The moment the words leave our mouths, we instantly begin scanning the room for validation. We carefully watch the faces around the table or the small boxes on the screen. Did they nod? Did the manager smile? Did someone immediately agree? If there is a brief moment of silence, or if the conversation suddenly moves in a different direction, a cold panic sets in. We instantly tell ourselves we sounded foolish. We deeply regret speaking at all. We attach our entire sense of worth to the immediate, visible reaction of other people. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of non-attachment to outcomes. We suffer deeply because we try to control things that are entirely outside of our grasp. Buddhism reminds us that our only true responsibility is our own action, our own intention, and our own voice. What happens after we speak belongs to the world. When we desperately crave praise or fear rejection, we are tying our inner peace to the unpredictable, chaotic minds of others. We make our peace conditional. We trade our freedom for the fragile hope of a compliment. Imagine standing on the edge of a fast-moving river. You have carefully folded a small paper boat, and you gently place it onto the surface of the water. Your only job was to build the boat and set it free. But instead of letting it go, you run frantically along the riverbank, trying to control the current. You throw stones to change the flow. You panic when the wind pushes it toward the rocks. You completely exhaust yourself trying to force the river to carry the boat exactly the way you planned. But the river has its own current, its own depths, and its own nature. You cannot control the water. This is what we do every time we share an idea, and then obsess over the reaction. We throw our words into the river of the meeting, and then we run frantically along the edge, trying to force our colleagues to validate us. We want to control their thoughts. We want to control their facial expressions. But you cannot control the room. Someone else might be distracted. Another person might not understand. Their reaction is shaped by their own stress, their own focus, and their own hidden fears, not by your inherent worth. Think about your own life. Think about the ideas you shared that were met with silence. How often do you regret speaking just because nobody immediately applauded? What are you afraid will happen if you simply share your thought and let it go? Ask yourself, is this constant need for validation bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your anxiety? Pause, breathe. The next time you share an idea, let it leave your mouth and do not chase it. Stop trying to control the river. Do your part, then release the outcome. Let the silence happen without making it mean you failed. Because peace is not found by perfectly controlling how others see you. It is found when you realize your voice has value regardless of the applause. But letting go of this need for approval requires us to unlearn the deepest lie we have been taught about our own existence. And this is where the next truth begins. Because we must stop treating our worth like a currency. 7. Your worth is not a transaction. What if the most exhausting lie you ever believed is that your right to be in the room must be constantly purchased? Here is a truth we rarely face. We treat our professional lives like an endless, unforgiving marketplace. We believe we start every single day with a quiet deficit. We think our hesitation in a meeting creates a debt, and the only way to pay it off is by overworking, over-delivering, or hiding in the shadows so nobody checks our balance. We view every perfectly spoken word, every successful project, and every late night at the desk as a heavy coin we drop into a jar, desperately trying to buy our legitimacy. If we make a mistake, or if we fear we sounded foolish, we believe our account is instantly emptied, and we are suddenly worthless all over again. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this transactional view of the self is a profound illusion. In Buddhist thought, your inherent worth is not something that can be earned, and it is certainly not something that can be spent or lost. You possess a fundamental, unshakable dignity simply by existing. When we view our value as something that fluctuates based on how well we perform in a 30-minute meeting, we suffer deeply. Buddhism reminds us that your true nature is unchanging. You do not have to pay daily rent for your right to take up space. Imagine a giant, ancient tree standing quietly in the middle of a vast forest. The tree does not panic when its leaves fall in the autumn. It does not feel a deep sense of shame when the harsh winter strips its branches bare. It does not look at the other trees and decide it must grow twice as fast just to prove it deserves the soil beneath its roots. It simply stands. It trusts its own depth. Its worth is not determined by how many birds land on its branches or how much sunlight it captures on any given afternoon. Its right to exist is absolute, written into the very earth itself. Yet, in our daily lives, we refuse to trust our own roots. We sit in meetings and act as though our entire right to be respected is hanging by a fragile thread. We think that if we do not produce a brilliant, flawless idea on command, our soil will be taken away. We forget the years of experience, the quiet resilience, and the deep, silent knowledge that brought us to that chair in the first place. We act as though we must earn our past all over again, every single morning, through sheer exhaustion. Think about your own life. Look at how you treat yourself after a difficult conversation. How many times today have you tried to quietly buy your own legitimacy through extra labor? What are you so afraid they will take away if you stop constantly proving yourself? Ask yourself, is this endless internal negotiation bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your exhaustion? Pause. Breathe. The next time you feel the desperate urge to justify your presence, do absolutely nothing. Stop the internal transaction. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise without fighting it, and then watch it dissolve into the quiet truth of your own presence. You are not a debt to be paid. Because peace is not found by finally paying off the imaginary debt of your insecurities. It is found when you realize there was never a debt to begin with. But understanding this truth in your mind is different from living it in the room, and this brings us to the final truth. Because the ultimate freedom is not just about changing how you speak, it is about remembering who you actually are. 8. Returning to your natural presence. What if the greatest achievement of your life is simply allowing yourself to exist without the heavy burden of proof? Think back to that very first moment we talked about. You are sitting in the meeting. The voices are loud. A thought rises in your mind. But this time, something is different. You do not feel the crushing, heavy weight of the unspoken words pressing against your chest. You do not feel the blinding heat of the imaginary spotlight. You do not frantically calculate whether your thought will be perfectly praised or briefly ignored. This time, you simply sit in the quiet dignity of your own presence. This is the ultimate promise of Buddhist wisdom. It is not about transforming yourself into an invincible, flawless speaker who never feels a moment of doubt. It is about deeply, radically accepting yourself exactly as you are. It is about realizing that all the suffering, the deep exhaustion, the late nights of silent overworking, the heavy armor of perfection was entirely self-created. We built our own cages out of fear. We thrashed in our own water. We charged ourselves a daily debt that never actually existed. But the beautiful truth is that because you created the cage, you also hold the key. Imagine walking into a quiet room after a long, brutal storm. The wind has finally stopped. The heavy, polished armor is lying on the floor, left far behind you. The desperate need to overwork, to justify your space, to carefully manage the opinions of every single person in the room, it has all dissolved. You are no longer performing for an invisible audience. You are simply breathing. You realize that your voice is just a sound in the universe. Sometimes it will carry profound wisdom, and sometimes it will just be a passing, unpolished thought. Both are perfectly fine. Neither one determines your value as a human being. When you finally stop treating every conversation as a life or death test of your worth, a strange and beautiful freedom appears. You will find that you speak more easily, not because you are suddenly entirely fearless, but because the stakes are no longer impossibly high. And if you choose to remain silent, it will be a peaceful, observant silence, not a terrified hiding. You realize that your worth does not enter the room when you open your mouth, and it does not leave the room when someone else is speaking. It is simply there, constant, unshakable, like the quiet depths of the ancient lake, like the deep roots of the tree. Think about your own life moving forward. Think about the massive amount of energy you are going to get back when you finally stop fighting yourself. You no longer have to exhaust yourself trying to prove you belong. You already belong. You no longer have to desperately guard against sounding foolish. Sometimes we all sound foolish, and the sun still rises the next morning. Pause, breathe. Let that sink in. The heavy, exhausting performance is over. You do not have to carry it into tomorrow. You do not have to buy your legitimacy ever again. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.